Alright guys, today before we start, you need to make sure you have read chapter 1 section 3 in the textbook and that you have completed worksheet number 8, the note-taking skills, which is this section 3 types of government notes page. For today's assignment, you need your textbook, your pencil, the number 8 worksheet, and then your composition book, as we're going to be wrapping up this. You're going to be using your notes, answering questions in your composition book. Okay, so in your composition book, here's what I want you to do. Copy this question on a new page. Copy this question and this table. Copy it just like this. Then I want you to fill in the table using your notes or by looking back at page 19. So number 1 says, tell who rules the state in each of Aristotle's 3 classifications of government. I'll go ahead and give you one of the classifications. It is an autocracy. That's one classification. You tell me the other two. So autocracy would go here, and who rules? One person. So autocracy is a classification. The ruler is one person. So you tell me the other 2 classifications and then who or how many rules each of those classifications. And you need to look back at your notes or look back at page 18, 19 in the book. Feel free to do that. Okay, after you have answered this question, you have another question. Number 2, write this question down. What characteristics of democracy distinguish it from other forms of government? And this is a wrap up, so you've done this already in your notes. If you don't know the characteristics of democracy, you need to look it up. They are on page 23. They are I think they're the red headings. That it's like 5 different little sections. There's 5 characteristics of democracy. So just list them right here, and that will suffice. You can use your notes, you can use your book. Alright, if you still have room on that first page, you can stay on that one. If you need to go to a new page, feel free to do so. Copy this question down now. Number 3, what technological advances allow modern dictators to have more power over a country than Louis XIV did from 1660 to 1714? And if you look on page 19, there's a little caption. There's a picture of Louis XIV, and there's a caption that has this question underneath it. But basically, in his time, he was a dictator, yes. He had power over his country, but how has technology changed the amount of power that a dictator can have now? Think about, I'll give you one idea, then you can tell me the others. Cameras. How do cameras play a part in dictatorships? It's like security camera, that kind of thing. And then you tell me some other things. Maybe there's social media. Maybe there's internet. You expand on those options and give me more on those technological advances. Alright, new question. Number 4, write this in, why would democracy more likely thrive in a country with an educated public? We learned that in your chapter, you learned that an educated public makes a good soil for a democracy. It makes a good foundation for a democracy. A democracy works well if your country is well educated. The people of your country are well educated. But why? I want you to think about it. If you need a little help getting going on this, page 24 has a little paragraph that might give you a little boost. And then you can also search the internet for help if you'd like. That's fine. But I want to know, in your opinion, why would democracy more likely thrive in a country with an educated public? And give me a couple sentences for that. Okay, now I put 2 new questions, and I realize that these are longer, but take some time, pause it, and write these down. What you're going to do is you are going to read page 25. We didn't read this. There were no notes on it. So here it is. It's a case study, a Supreme Court case specifically. And I'll read it to you just in case. But then I want you to answer the questions. It's getting you to think about how the Supreme Court rules on things and what the Constitution deems fair. Do you agree with that, etc., etc.? All right, I'll just go ahead and start reading. The background of the Supreme Court case. Well, we'll go up here. The Ward versus Rock against racism, 1989. The Constitution limits the power of government to restrict free speech. At the same time, a legitimate purpose of government is to maintain public order, including protecting citizens from unwelcome and excessive noise. Does the First Amendment allow a city to regulate the sound level at rock concerts held in a public park? The case of Ward versus Rock against racism addressed this question. So let's read about the background of this case, Ward versus Rock against racism. Starting here. Rock concerts are regularly held in New York City's Central Park. Area residents had complained of too much noise at some events. At other events, audiences said the sound was not loud enough. In 1986, the city passed a regulation requiring groups performing in the park to use a sound system provided and operated by the city. Rock Against Racism, an anti-racist rock group, had sponsored annual concerts in Central Park and had always provided their own sound equipment and sound technician. Rock Against Racism charged that the city regulation violated their rights in free speech under the First Amendment. The group won a federal court case. The Supreme Court agreed to hear the case in 1989. All right, continuing. The constitutional issue, and this is their, this is the explanation of what, this is what the group Rock Against Racism argued. Music has long been considered a form of protected speech under the First Amendment. However, the courts do allow governments to make regulations that may incidentally limit speech in an effort to accomplish a legitimate purpose of government. Thus, in several cases, the Supreme Court had said that the governments can limit the time, place, and manner of speech if the aim is not to censor the content of the speech, but to help further such interests such as health and safety. To be constitutional, however, such regulations must not be directed at the content of the speech. That's key here for your answer for number 5. Rock Against Racism argued that the regulation violated the First Amendment by giving city officials artistic control over performers in the park. The group claimed the regulation was not narrowly focused and gave city officials the chance to select poor equipment or to modify the sound if they did not like the message. The city responded that it had a legitimate purpose in protecting citizens from excessive noise and that its guidelines were focused on controlling noise levels in a way that was fair to the audience, the performers, and citizens living nearby. All right, so I want you to go back and answer this question. Number 5, was the regulation a proper exercise of the government's power to maintain order, or was it a violation of the First Amendment? So you choose, and then you support your opinion. Was the government maintaining order? Was it okay for the government to say that? Was it okay for the government to require groups performing in the park to use a sound system operated by the city? Was that okay? Or was it a violation of the First Amendment that they had to use the city's equipment and operators? So give me your answer, and then I want you to support your opinion. This is opinion based. As long as you support it, it's fine. But if you just say it was wrong, or it was right, or it was okay, that does not get you credit. You need to tell me why. Think outside the box. Number 6. What was the city's goal in drawing up the regulation? Was there another less intrusive way the city could have handled that issue? So this question has two parts. You need to make sure you answer both. First, what is the city's goal in drawing up the regulation? And it's going to say what the city's goal is around in this paragraph right here is where you're going to have the city's goal. But then I want you to tell me, was there another less intrusive way the city could have handled that issue? So, the city, could they have not said, okay, we're going to operate and supply all of your equipment? Was there something else they could do to handle the issue of noise? So, I want you to give another solution. So, that means this question will help you when you hear when you hear the news and you hear about a new law or a new something that happened in the news, and you, before you just jump to conclusions and say, well, that's horrible. In your mind, I want you to think of a solution. If you can think of another solution, maybe you should suggest it to the government. Maybe you should get out there and have your voice heard, because maybe they haven't heard your solution yet. Always provide a solution rather than just sticking to with, well, this is a bad situation. What is your solution? Think outside the box, people. Okay. When you are finished with 1 through 6, turn in your composition books. Tomorrow you have one more day of notes and one more day of wrap up, and then you have a chapter 1 full wrap up. So then we'll be done with that first chapter in the next couple days. All right. Have a fantastic day. And yeah, that's about it. Bye-bye.